Ladies and gentlemen, I need everybody quiet, or else Jane will not come out. She's a little bit afraid of you. I would now like to introduce to you our guest speaker. You know her as number 5, Tammy Duncan, with the Mighty Ducks. She is also my stepdaughter and a very important person in my life. I would like you all now to please stand for the national anthem.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
All right, wanted to tell you guys why I started with that song specifically. I'm connected to Mrs. Plank, she's my stepmom, and I sang at the St. Paul Saints game, the national anthem, and through that, my stepmom was able to meet my dad, and now I got a new mom. So as I'm telling my story about Mighty Ducks, I'll be talking about my mom. It doesn't mean Mrs. Plank here. It's my biological mom, just so that you know. All right, so with that said, we'd love to tell you guys a little bit more about Mighty Ducks. So, who has seen Mighty Ducks? Great, good. You all passed the first question. So I was in the first one, I was the figure skater, and a little bit about the story of kind of how to audition and that sort of thing. So a lot of times, you know, there's a lot of, these days, a lot of reality shows, but you still have to audition and go through that process. So part of what I did in the classified ads in the newspaper, now if we were to do it these days, it'd probably be online, or Facebook blog or something like that, a post. But what it said was, looking for a 12-year-old athletic tomboy that can figure skate. And my mom was a professional actress in the Twin Cities area. So she said, Jane, this looks great, you should audition for this. So I was like, okay, so part of what she taught me in terms of auditioning is that you want to look the part. So if they're looking for a 12-year-old, I was 12, so I didn't have to do anything different about that. An athletic tomboy that can figure skate. So the athletic tomboy, I thought, okay, well, you know, maybe showing that I'm a little bit sporty or something like that. So I wore a baseball t-shirt and a hat backwards with a ponytail, just to kind of show that I was sporty. And then I have a twin sister. She lives down in Chicago. She wasn't able to attend today. But she dressed in kind of a real frilly dress and kind of looked pretty girly. And we're not identical, we're fraternal. So part of what you have to do in the open call audition is that you just go to that place, like an open casting call, similar to kind of what they do with American Idol. You have to wait in line and you just kind of hope that you get there in time and that you get a chance. So my mom was busy that day, and my dad was going to be taking us because it was on a Saturday. So we get downtown, and we're like, okay, wonder where this is going to be, and kind of walk, and we see this huge line. And it's down the block, it's up the stairs, it's like a huge thing. They said from here, it's about a 3-hour wait. We're like, oh my gosh. So who loves to wait in line? Hands? Big fan of waiting in line. So what we did, we said, well, we have nothing better to do. Let's just kind of hang out and we can chat while we're waiting in line and see what can happen. So I get towards the front, and what they're doing is they're calling in people, the casting agents, and they're saying, okay, the next 15 people, you, and stop right there. Okay, bring you in. So you don't know what they're kind of going to be doing in the room or not, or what they're going to be asking you, and then they scoot you on your way. So I've been patiently waiting for over 3 hours. Frankly, I was getting a little hungry. But I go in there, and they line me up. My sister was next to me, and they said, okay, we're going to have the camera was right in front, we're going to have everybody say their name and their age, and that's it. So this is the audition. Now normally you audition with a script or something like that. So it came to me, I said, Jane Plank, 12 years old. They're like, okay, yeah. And then they talked and they whispered a little bit, you never know what they're talking about. So we're all just patiently waiting. They said, you 3, stay here. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. So imagine if you had waited for over 3 hours to get into a small room to say your name and your age. So I've been one of the 3 that they had stay back. They said, okay, great. Now we want you, and you to say your name and your age again. So at this point, I felt pretty comfortable saying that. And then they said, now we're going to ask you a question. It's like, okay. So like, okay, and action. Like, Jane Plank, 12 years old. And then they said, and do you have a boyfriend? Like, no, I do not. I play with the boys in the playground. Now, at this point, let me be honest, I was in 7th grade, and we had junior high. It was 7th, 8th, and 9th. So I didn't have recess anymore, but I knew what they wanted to hear. So for an audition, I knew that they were kind of looking for a character. So I said that I would play sports with the boys out during recess, even though really frankly I didn't have recess at that point. I was just trying to pull back on my past experience. And then they said, great, okay, well thanks so much. Again, I was like, all right. They're like, just wait for a couple minutes. They started to whisper again, and I was like, what's all this whispering? I'd love to know what they're talking about. They said, okay, we're going to ask you, and it was just me, if you could come back tomorrow, we're going to have a script for you, and we're going to have you read. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, they had been doing this as a nationwide search. They were going to a number of the major cities, LA, New York, Chicago, that sort of thing. They also went into Canada. And so that was a pretty quick turnaround. Usually for auditions, they have a big break in between. So I went there the next day, they recorded me, and I did like a 1-page audition, and then they said, okay, thanks, bye. Now, in acting, or in any kind of performing, if you don't hear, then you don't get it. If you hear, then you got it. So if you don't hear from them, after a certain amount of time, you think, okay, they just don't like me. I'm just not the look that they're going for. So there is a certain amount of confidence that you have to do if you're going to be, putting yourself out there and being willing to kind of be vulnerable and audition and kind of be rejected and that sort of thing. So after about a month and a half, we hadn't heard anything. We thought, okay, I'm just dead at this point. Well, then sure enough, the phone rings. And, we'd like you to come in for a callback. So a callback is basically when they ask you to come back and audition again. They've continued to look at people and they like you. So I do a couple of those. There's a couple of breaks in between, a couple of month sections. And then they gave us a call and they said, okay, it's down to you and one other person. And I was like, wow. Now the odds have gotten increasingly better. Frankly, it's 50% chance, right? All you math majors? All you people that love math. So I said, okay, so I wonder what this chick looks like, right? So we get there, and I have a twin sister, remember, but she doesn't look like me. So I go up the big stairs again, and I'm going to be auditioning with the producer, and so or the director, and he's going to tell me kind of what he likes and what he doesn't like. And so they said, okay, and I kind of looked up and I was like, I wonder what oh my gosh, there she is. It was my spitting image. So it was a gal from Canada that looked exactly like me. which means they had a certain look that they were going for. So, you can't be 6'4" if that's not what they're looking for and that's not what you are. And if they're looking for dark hair and you have light hair, or if they're looking for a certain style or something like that, you either match or you don't. And so I said, oh my gosh, they definitely know what they're looking for. So they stood the two of us next to each other and took pictures of the two of us. We were the same height, they were doing measurements. It was like, wow, I mean, it's coming down to how we do the script. So I went in there first, and then, or actually she went in there first, she came out, and then they said, just hang on, because they'd flown her down from Canada, and I went in. And so he coached me and asked me to do it a couple of different ways. Now, do you guys remember in the Mighty Ducks, Fulton, the big slap shooter, and when he has that scene where he's shooting into the trunk, and he goes, Emilio is like, Gordon Bombay is like, hey, why don't you play for us? And he's like, I can't. They're like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I can't. He's like, skate, when he gets mad. So that was my audition. That was the little scene that I had to do for the director. So went home. They didn't tell me at that point. I wanted to just say, hey, you got the movie. They didn't. So during that time, there was a lot of stuff going on in the background with my family. So my mom was a pretty bad stage mother. Again, not Mrs. Plank. But she was a pretty bad stage mom. Does anybody know what that term or that expression is? Not of pets? A lot of childhood stars have parents or stage mothers that try to steal their money and are kind of mean to them and that sort of thing. So my mom, before every audition, would make me cry, and she would be insulting me and making me feel really bad. And the night before that audition, she had told my dad, she's just not going to get that. She's just not good enough. And and I could tell she wasn't pleased with how I did it and everything like that. And that night I thought, if I could make this, not only would I prove my mom wrong, who's trying to make fun of me all the time and be mean to me, but I could prove to the rest of the world that you can be a normal, everyday person and still be in a movie. So that was kind of just my little thing that I promised myself. So my dad gave me a call. I was home with a friend and my twin sister. And my dad said, now there's two girl parts. Do you remember that? Connie and Tammy, the dark hair gal, and then me. And he said, do you have a preference of which position, which role you'd like to be in? And I was like, I don't know. I guess Connie. I hadn't really read the whole thing, but I knew Connie came in right away. She was earlier in the movie. I didn't know that Tammy had more of a memorable part. So I said, well, I think I want to be Connie. If they're giving me a choice or if I had a preference. Well, you didn't get the part of Connie. I was like, okay. All right. But you got the part of Tammy. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, hey. So I did kind of the 12-year-old squealy girl thing that we all do, the screaming, of course. And then we ended up going out to dinner to celebrate that evening with some nice Chinese food. And then I went over to a place to babysit that night. So the filming lasted about 4 months. Now a normal filming for a movie takes about 3 months. And we were running overtime. So every day, that means costs for production, the price of making the movie went up. So we had a month of figure skating and hockey camp. Everybody was flown in. We even did some skating and camp training with Emilio. And then we were able to basically start the shooting or the filming. They had a craft service table, so that's where they have free food for everybody in the cast and crew. And a lot of times they were doing a lot of junk food, cake and brownies. You just a full kind of table. Well, all the kids started getting pimples and gaining weight. And if you watch The Mighty Ducks again, if you guys ever watch it again, you'll notice Tommy, my younger brother, he gains 40 pounds during the filming. Now with Mighty Ducks, and with every other movie, they don't film the first scene of the movie and go in order. They do this scene, and then they do this scene, and then they do this scene. So during the movie, you'll see him with a triple chin, and then no chin at all. And he'll keep fluctuating with his weight. So there's some things like that. One of the other shots that you guys will want to pay attention to, remember when I just first get recruited onto the team and they're playing with those eggs on the ice rink? Well, those were mostly wooden eggs. So if you watch closely as they're being hit back and forth, you'll see them ricocheting off and kind of spinning. Well, a real egg wouldn't do that. We also Emilio Gordon-Bombay had a sweater on, and so when they were slapping the egg on him, they would crack the egg on him beforehand. So we had 2 eggs and kind of mushed up, and then they would just stop it and then crack another one. When they were done with that scene, because we had to work on that for almost a full day, a wet vac it's a vacuum that you're able to do for wet and for dry. So they used a wet vac and would vacuum up the egg and then do the scene again. So there's just some pretty cool things like that that we were able to, some of the kind of secrets of the movie that were pretty fun to be able to do. So after that happened, we ended up having some premieres here. And so I went out to LA for a premiere. We had a premiere at the Mall of America. And they would have me do signings. So at different video, like Blockbusters and stuff like that, Mr. Movies, Blockbusters. And so I would go to these places, and one of the times my dad wasn't available, my mom wasn't able to, and that was okay, because most of the time she'd make me cry before I would do those events. By calling me names and that sort of thing. But I ended up going one time in a limo alone, and so I'm in the back of this stretch limo, going to this premiere, or going to one of the signings, and I thought, I may only be 13 years old at that point when the movie actually came out, but I thought, there's still lessons that we can learn. I mean, I don't know if you guys kind of feel like you're mini adults, but there's been different times in my life when I kind of felt like a mini adult, and I thought, you never want to have success or do anything that's significant and substantial if you can't have friends and family around you to enjoy it. There's nothing more lonely than being in the back of a limo and not being able to enjoy it with somebody. So that was something that I kind of had remembered. Another part that was interesting in terms of the dynamics of school, I didn't go back to school. So during that time of the filming, from January till end of April, I was getting tutored on set. So what they do is you have to do 3 hours a day of schooling, and then you can bank hours where you say, okay, I did 6 hours today, then I won't be able to do any tomorrow. The problem is you don't get quite as good of schooling, because if you have questions, maybe somebody can help you, but maybe not. They did have some tutors, but for all of us, they only had 2 tutors. And so I tried to go back to school one day, and it was really kind of disjunct, because I was more of an interruption than I really was a help. And so they kind of said, could you wait until the filming's done to come back? Well, I was going to the bathroom, and in the stall, there was Jane, Izza, and then a bad word. I'm going to leave that out. But they were starting to write really mean and nasty things on the walls and that sort of thing, trying to, I had one kid that was trying to spit on me, and what that was more jealousy than anything. But if somebody has something good happen, the last thing you want to do is make fun of them, be mean to them about it. It was like they made me feel so bad about it and tried to make me feel bad about it and take away the fun of it. So that was one piece that I realized, the bullying was happening even back in my days. During school. And the reason why people do that is because they're not happy in their own home life. We all have backgrounds that a lot of times people don't know about. So I was, my mom would slap me, she'd call me names, she'd call me a loser, she wished I wasn't, I was the twin she wished wasn't birthed, and then I'd still have to go to school and be happy. So a lot of times we don't always know what's really going on with everybody, even though we think we have everything figured out. So I ended up kind of getting away from the movie thing. She just made it less and less pleasant or fun for me. It really turned out to just be me crying a lot. And so I ended up, when I was 17, getting fibromyalgia. just by show of hands, has anybody heard of that before? It's like an arthritis? Fibromyalgia? Yeah. So there's varying degrees of severity, how bad it is. I had all 18 points that were affected. So I was in so much pain. I was on a lot of medicine to try to get me better, but I had to graduate early from high school. And I actually ended up having to be lifted up out of my bed one day for my dad. It was so bad. And so I ended up going to California, out to school there, to try to get rid, kind of a lot of the arthritic people go to warm places. So I thought, well, Arizona or California, something like that. So I went out there, and I kept saying, I have to get better from this. I mean, this pain is so unbearable. I've had such a fun opportunity happen to me with Mighty Ducks and being able to kind of share that joy with everybody, that I really want to be pain-free again. I'm sick of living like a 90-year-old. And so I ended up finding a book. It was Reversing Fibromyalgia and Other Arthritic Illnesses. And it talks about taking a lot of supplements, getting off all your medicine. And 10 days into the 30-day program, I woke up pain-free. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was like I had been struck by lightning for a second time. And I was like, I get a chance to really start to live my life again and really do things. And part of, I think, all of our journeys and life experiences is that we can grow from them, and it can either improve you and make you better, or you get really bitter about it, like, well, I'm gonna just have a chip on my shoulder for the rest of my life because my mom was super mean to me, and she wanted me to get a nose job, and she wanted me to get ribs removed, and she never liked how I looked. Well, you know what? End of the day, it's because she wasn't happy, not because I wasn't happy. So once I got freed from fibromyalgia, I was a music minor, and I said, okay, I'm just going to start to, live my life and share my talents and my gifts with everybody rather than just kind of hiding it. And so in 2007, I started writing my own music. And so I had always played piano since I was 5, but then all of a sudden I could write different tunes. I would sit down with a notepad and I'd be able to get lyrics, written out and that sort of thing. And so now I've started to perform. I've sung for the Timberwolves, the national anthem. I've sung for the St. Paul Saints, U of M, a number of different places. And then also I perform at Fine Line and some other events, a lot of benefit concerts where they're paying to help somebody else. And I would strongly advise you guys to really take a look at what your talents are. And if it's not as obvious in terms of, oh, I'm able to play piano, then find out what else you're good at. If it's drawing, or if it's taking care of people, or if somebody's feeling bad, encouraging them, that's a gift too. So part of what I'd like to do is sing a couple songs for you. Then we're going to open it up to questions. And I do have one more story. So I have some dogs. One is a model. She's the exclusive white Chihuahua for Target. So if you ever see any print ads with Target and a Chihuahua, it's my Chihuahua. She's the only Chihuahua that won't bite. So she has an agent. And then I also have another dog named Gabe. And he was part of like a kind of a puppy mill, and so we ended up buying him. And he really loves my singing. So, I think sometimes animals have kind of a keen sense of people and that sort of thing. And so I would like to sing a song with Gabe today. Who's down for that?
Yeah!
Okay. Gabe, can you come on over? So, hi Gabe. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do is we're going to sing Happy Birthday. So I'll sing a couple of songs that are in English. This first one is Happy Birthday in Italian. So is anybody's birthday today? Quick show of hands.
Sage's is.
Okay. And is anybody's birthday in the summer? And has anybody ever had a birthday? All right, there we go. So we're going to sing it. Oh, simmer down. Simmer down, huh? So we are going to sing a duet for anybody that's ever had a birthday. Tanti auguri a ti, tanti auguri a ti, tanti auguri small venues, but he's really kind of nervous about this whole thing. Now, one additional thing is that he's very particular about the certain songs that he really gets excited or will sing with me about. So one of the other songs he loves is when I sing in Italian. So I'm going to do P.A. Su. It's an Italian song, and he really loves an Italian aria. So I'm going to sing that for you, then I'm going to sing one by myself. Ready? P.A. Su, do you love that? Okay. If you do want to see additional songs with Gabe and I, feel free to YouTube. We're on there. We're doing some classics on there. Now I'm going to sing one song that is an original that I wrote, that I play out when I'm at the Fine Line and doing some different benefit concerts. This is called Restless. Dry my tears tonight with your love. Let my guard down and feel your love. Oh God, I need you and I don't know how. I need you and I don't know how. I need you and I don't belong. I feel restless just sitting here, staring up to the heavens for so many years. I sit here and wait and wonder, knowing there is more to come. Because of you, I can make it through, and that is the point exactly. Oh God, I need you and I don't know how. I need you and I don't know how. I need you and I don't belong. I feel restless just sitting here, staring up to the heavens for so many years. All you need is me. I will leave out the wonder and wait for your call. Oh God, I need you and I don't know how. I need you and I don't know how. I need you and I don't belong. I feel restless just sitting here, staring up to called What Do You Need From Me? And part of my songs is that I'm able to take the time that I had with my mom that was such a challenge, and the times that people were mean to me, and also some of the other times where you're able to be like, you know what, this is a gift, and this is what I do, and I'm not going to feel bad for it. And take that and bring that into music. So I still feel like I'm acting, even though I'm just doing it through music. I just had these words come to me, and it's kind of talking about just somebody being hurt and needing somebody there. And you know, it's like, hey, how do I help? And sometimes that's a gift too, to be able to encourage people rather than bullying them. So this song is called What Do You Need From Me?
Guys, the bell is going to ring, and we don't have to worry about it. So when the bell rings, just sit tight.
I can see it in your eyes. What do you need from me? I can tell the lights gone out. What do you need from me? What do you need from me that I haven't already given? Where do you hide inside that I can make better? 'Cause I know who you are, even if you don't say a word. And every night I'm thanking God for bringing you into my world. What do you need from me that I haven't already given? Where do you hide inside that I can make better? I can already see you're getting better. I can already see you getting better. Let me whisper those sweet words that you are forgiven, and you need to let it go, 'cause you are chosen. What do you need from me that I haven't already given? Where do you hide inside that I can make better?
All right. So I'm going to open it up to some questions, okay? We only have a limited amount of time. If you guys have any questions about the Mighty Ducks, about kind of my history, anything like that, so I'm gonna make sure that if we do need to repeat it, then maybe I'll have Mrs. Plank help with that. So let's go with this first one down here.
I have questions. Who's your favorite actor to act in the movie?
Who is my favorite actor? That is a great question. In the movie?
Like in the movie.
In the movie? Oh, let's see. Terry of the two brothers. He was the one that was the younger one. He was like my closest friend there. Yep, so I really liked him. What's your next question?
Was that the shirt that you actually wore?
Was this the shirt that I actually wore? Yes, this was the original jersey. But when I was 12, I had to wear hockey equipment under this. So now that I'm all grown up, I don't have to wear any equipment under. All right, you.
Was it hard to learn to sing?
Was it it hard to learn to figure skate? Well, I didn't compete officially beforehand, but had skated a lot around the local parks, and then they taught me how to do the spin and some of those other pieces. So yeah, it took a full month to work on that, but I had already been skating. Red? No?
Who's your favorite singer?
Who is my favorite singer? I love these questions. Let's see. What? Oh, sorry, what did I say? My favorite singer. You know, I love Dolly Parton, and I love Bette Midler, and I love Black Eyed Peas. You know, I love kind of a whole gamut. Jack Johnson. So yeah, I would say I like a bunch of different genres. Let's go with the blue shirt in the back. And then no Andy Ringstead. Now, what's Andy Trinkstead? You know, there are a lot of people that ask me because there were a lot of people in the movie, but I was fairly secluded to just kind of the main cast, so I don't remember that name offhand. But it doesn't mean that they weren't in the Mighty Ducks, but just maybe not right with me. So, who in the back?
Are you rich and famous?
I don't get to the point where I'm like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. I can still leave my house. I still have a day job. So I'm not rich and famous, but do I think I had a great experience? Yes. Oh yeah. So he said, do I know how they did that part with Karp where he hit his head on the goal? That part? And then or with the puck?
No, when he hit the goal post with his shoulder.
Oh, wait, sure. Yeah, they had a stunt double do that. So he basically ran into it. They had probably 2 or 3 different camera angles that they did for that. And then they were able to get the right shot. And then they would cut and then have everybody gather in. And then they would cut again when they pulled them off the ice. So yeah, it's like they kind of chunk it out pretty well. You in the black shirt? How did they make the puck what? Oh, go through the net. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. They had a machine that helped to spin it the right way, and then they kind of got it ready. They loosened the fiber basically in the net so that it was really weak and vulnerable. And then they had some of the some hockey people that were coaches and that sort of thing shoot into it. They took, you know, half a day worth of shots to get it right. So yeah. How about you in the green? I like the Harry Potter movie. You know, I haven't gotten into that, but I have friends that are big fans of Harry Potter.
He's a little upset.
That's a great question. What talent agency did I get into? So at that point, there was Susan Wayman, and then there was Eleanor Moore Agency. So I was represented by Eleanor Moore. That was one of the 2 agencies that my mom was a part of at that point. And then I had joined Karen's later on. So, yeah.
What inspired you to do what you do?
What inspired me? You know, I think it's one of those things that it's like, I did have kind of a rough growing up and like getting out and feeling good about myself, and it's like now I just want people to have different opportunities, not be afraid to like get out there and try, you know, because a lot of times people are so caught up in fear that they don't even try to do stuff, you know. So that's I think what's kind of motivating me to continue to help people. You don't hear?
What were some scenes when the kid was fat?
What were some scenes where my brother in the movie was fat? I don't remember specific ones, but if you look through it, you could definitely see it. Yeah. I think the one where we're first introduced, that's one of them.
What was the hardest part in the movie to film?
Hardest part in the movie to film. Well, when we did that big rollerblade scene at the mall, and that gal falls into the fountain. So do you remember where the one guy, Fulton, is going down the stairs, and then he pushes that woman over, and he's like, sorry, and she falls in? Well, that was a stunt double. That woman was a stunt double, so we only had one chance to do it. So they practiced it a lot of times, and I was right there kind of waiting for that shot, because we were part of that scene. So they'd be like, okay, this scene, you're gonna go up, and then you're gonna just stop, and then you're gonna do this, and she's like, yeah, then I'm gonna fall like this. And they had to make sure that the cameras were all ready, because we had one shot at it. Another one that we only had one shot was when we celebrated and we had Coke that we were spraying, Coca-Cola all over everything. We did that one time, and that was really nasty to clean up after. It was like everything was sticky and all of us were just grossed out. So that was kind of a hard one to shoot. How about you in the purple? Pardon? Am I married? No, I'm not. You? Do I have a nice car? I believe in buying vehicles used for the resale value. Yeah, I don't have you know what, part of that money went to was my college education, so we tried to save as much as we can for that. You? Am I still in touch with anybody from the Mighty Ducks? That's a great question. Facebook has helped with that immensely. So I've gotten reconnected with Charlie and with JD, the little kid that was like spying and heard that Bombay used to be a hawk. And then Emilio, he has his new movie out right now. So when that was premiered in Maple Grove, I went to see him and said a quick hi. So.
What would you think of Bombay when you first met him?
What did I think about Emilio when I first met him?
No, Coach Bombay. What did you
Yeah. What did I think of Coach Bombay when I first met him? You know, I knew he had been in a number of different movies, so I wasn't sure if he was going to be nice or not, or, you know, kind of arrogant or whatever. He was really nice, really down to earth. He actually learned how to juggle during the Mighty Ducks. So when they'd say, you know, in action, we'd do the scene and then they'd cut, then he'd work on juggling. And so he's really nice and always just willing to chat and stuff. Orange shirt? Is it true that Emilio is related to Charlie Sheen? Yes. Yep. And Emilio was engaged to Paula Abdul back in the day, so she was on the set a lot of times too. What is my favorite food? Great question. Okay, well that's
Just that question.
okay. So this will be the last question. What is my favorite food? I would say
Potatoes.
a bean burrito. Bean burrito. They're like a Taco Bell or Chipotle or Mexican joint. You guys, if you can be quiet for a minute. We have some additional instructions. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time today, being really great listeners. If you can listen to Mrs. Plank, she'll tell you the rest of what